Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. Let me start off by saying a big thank you to all of you for all of your support with the channel this past couple of months. In this video, we're going to be addressing the question, how did Harry's Expelliarmus match Voldemort's Avada Kedavra in the graveyard scene in the Goblet of Fire? What's interesting about this scene is that it almost suggests that Harry is Voldemort's equal, but that is really not the case. So, how did he contend with the Dark Lord himself? As we know, this scene marks the proper return of Lord Voldemort after a long hiatus. Before this point in time, Voldemort had still been trapped in other, weaker forms. First, a wisp-like form, and then his rudimentary form, a form that only barely gave him a physical presence. As we know, the Goblet of Fire outlines the events of the Triwizard Tournament, a tournament that Harry was competing in as a representative for Hogwarts. What Harry did not know, however, was that while participating in the tournament, he was being given a winner's advantage. One of Voldemort's followers, Barty Crouch Jr., did everything in his power to ensure that Harry would end up a winner in the hedge maze, and turned the Triwizard Cup into a portkey. This portkey would lead to Little Hangleton, the same place that Voldemort was undergoing his transformation into his proper form. More specifically, it was the graveyard of Little Hangleton, the burial ground of Voldemort's father, Tom Riddle Sr. Their location was of particular importance in this setting, as it played an integral role in Voldemort's return to a proper physical form. You see, Voldemort could not truly return until he was given a regeneration potion, an ancient dark potion that helps restore wizards to their bodies. It just so happened that Little Hangleton was the location of one of the most important ingredients in the potion, Bone of Father. The potion as a whole required 3 ingredients, Bone of Father, Flesh of Servant, and Blood of Foe. To create this potion, Wormtail and Barty Crouch Jr. helped Voldemort source these ingredients. They were able to create the potion successfully by using Wormtail's flesh, Voldemort's father's bone, and Harry's blood. All of the ingredients were then placed inside of a cauldron, and Voldemort's rudimentary form was placed inside. Harry's blood being in the potion is an important part of this video, so remember that. When Harry first arrives in the graveyard, Cedric came along with him. However, Cedric didn't last long, as he was nearly immediately struck with an Avada Kedavra cast by Pettigrew on Voldemort's command. As you can imagine, Harry was not having a good time. After assuming his new all-powerful form, Voldemort summons an array of Death Eaters and begins to address Harry. Voldemort, in typical Voldemort fashion, begins his monologue and essentially proclaims that Harry's survival 13 years prior was purely a fluke. I think that Voldemort was doing this weird peacocking to prove to the Death Eaters that he was still powerful and that he wouldn't be outdone again. Or would he? Voldemort then ordered Wormtail to release Harry, then gave him his wand, effectively initiating a duel with Harry. You have been taught how to duel, Harry Potter. We bow to each other, Harry. Come, the niceties must be observed. Dumbledore would like you to show manners. Bow to death, Harry. After taunting Harry and asking him to bow, he eventually used the Imperius Curse on him, forcing him to bow. Shortly after that, he performed another of the unforgivable curses on Harry, the Cruciatus Curse. Initially, Harry tried to escape and found himself hiding behind a gravestone. However, he quickly realized that he would have to stay and fight, understanding that there was no easy way out of this situation. Additionally, he was angry about the murder of Cedric and wanted to exact revenge. Harry stepped out from behind the gravestone and immediately started uttering his incantation. "Expelliarmus!" he yelled, pointing his wand towards Voldemort. However, just as Harry cast his spell, Voldemort cast his own. "Avada Kedavra!" he screamed. The spells collided. So, what happened next? Well, let's start with a passage from the book. A jet of green light issued from Voldemort's wand, just as a jet of red light blasted from Harry's. They met in mid-air, and suddenly Harry's wand was vibrating, as though an electric charge was surging through it. His hand seized up around it. He couldn't have released it if he'd wanted to, and a narrow beam of light connected the two wands, neither red nor green, but bright, deep gold. At this point in time, Harry couldn't let go of his wand, and neither could Voldemort. The pair were raised into the air and moved to a clear piece of ground away from the graves, and the beam of light connecting their wands turned into a golden, webbed dome. At this point in time, Voldemort commands the Death Eaters not to interfere. Voldemort, unsure of what is happening, frantically attempts to break the connection between the wands, but is unsuccessful. Harry, who is also unaware of what exactly is happening, gets the impression that he cannot let the connection between the wands break, despite it being progressively harder and harder to maintain. Beads of light move up the webbed dome toward Harry, and he gets the feeling that he cannot let those beads contact his wand, so he focuses his mind on pushing them back toward Voldemort. After concentrating like he never had in his life, Harry managed to force one of the beads back onto Voldemort's wand. This resulted in his wand emitting echoing screams of pain. Harry sees an apparition of Wormtail's silver hand, and next, a ghost-like apparition of Cedric Diggory. And then he sees more faces. Cedric, along with Frank Bryce and Bertha Jorkins, instruct Harry to keep fighting. Next, Harry's mother, Lily Potter, appears, also encouraging Harry to hold on. She tells Harry to wait for his father, and the other Shades begin to distract Voldemort. When James finally appears, he tells Harry that they will be able to linger and keep Voldemort away for a short time, but not for long, and that he should try and move towards the portkey. At this point in time, Harry effectively breaks the connection between the two wands and makes a run for the portkey. Just as Voldemort begins to raise his wand, Harry shouts a summoning charm, bringing him the Triwizard Cup that he uses to escape, just in the nick of time. So, what happened there? We know that Voldemort is using Avada Kedavra, so how is Harry able to defend himself against it? We first learn about the properties of Avada Kedavra in the Goblet of Fire. In class, Moody, actually Barty Crouch Jr., is teaching the class about the unforgivable curses, and clearly states that there is no way to fend off the killing curse. Sure, you can block Avada Kedavra by moving objects in its path, but blocking it with counterspells? That's supposed to be out of the question. Let's just kick things off by saying that Voldemort was not yet in possession of the Elder Wand, so that wasn't really a factor to consider. In other scenes, like in the Battle of Hogwarts, Harry being the true owner of the Elder Wand while Voldemort was in its possession meant that Harry had the upper hand. However, in the graveyard scene, that wasn't the case. So again, how did Harry's meager Expelliarmus match Voldemort's unforgivable killing curse? The answer to this question is relatively straightforward and comes down to a couple of things. The first thing is, once again, his mother. Lily Potter miraculously bails Harry out again with her unyielding love, or at least that's part of it. As we know, Voldemort used a regeneration potion to reconstruct his body. One ingredient of this potion was blood of foe, which basically means that Voldemort used Harry's blood to reconstruct his body. This also would have been the same blood that belonged to Lily, Harry's mother. When reconstructing his body, Voldemort thought that this would work to his advantage, and that it would shield him from Lily's same sacrificial protection that destroyed him many years prior. He also thought that this meant that he would be able to properly attack Harry. What happened instead was that he rendered Harry the only person capable of killing him, and turned himself into a Horcrux of sorts for Harry. This meant that as long as he was alive, Harry could not die. So that's the first reason, their blood bond. The second reason comes down to wands once again. Although Voldemort was not yet in possession of the Elder Wand, he did possess his wand, which actually happens to share the same core as Harry's wand. Voldemort's wand was the brother wand to Harry's, so to speak. You might remember Ollivander alluding to this in the Philosopher's Stone. I remember every wand I've ever sold, Mr. Potter, every single wand. And it just so happens that the phoenix, whose tail feather resides in your wand, gave another feather, just one other. It is curious that you should be destined for this wand, when its brother gave you that scar. What can occur when two brother wands go into contact with each other is a phenomenon called Priori Incantatem. It is also known as the reverse spell effect. This is exactly what happened to Harry and Voldemort in the Goblet of Fire. If two wizards are fighting each other and this occurs, they are effectively locked into a battle of wills. The spells become intertwined when they meet, and the connection is hard to break. At this point, the wand of the weaker combatant will begin to display, in a ghostly format, the spells that have been cast by said wand, in order of most recent to least recent. This is the reason that Harry's parents appeared, and the reason that they were able to interact with the physical world. Additionally, when the spells meet, they will produce the dome effect mentioned earlier, which acts as a safeguard to prevent other witches and wizards from intervening. The golden thread connecting Harry and Voldemort splintered, though the wands remained connected. 1,000 more beams arced high over Harry and Voldemort, crisscrossing all around them, until they were enclosed in a golden, dome-shaped web, a cage of light. So, for those two reasons, Harry was both safe from Voldemort, and even beat him in a way, through having a stronger will. It's not always just about how powerful your spell is, and this is just a perfect example of that, as it shows an instance in which a seemingly basic spell, like Expelliarmus, is able to best Avada Kedavra. And that's it for this video. I hope that answers the question. If you enjoyed the content, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, you're a wizard, Harry!